Hello everyone, welcome back to Mr. English Talks. Today we are going to uncover a powerful secret that many learners miss. Why listening is the secret to fluency. This is not a trick or a shortcut. It is a practical, patient path that transforms how you understand, speak, and think in English. I will share stories, simple scientific ideas, concrete exercises, and a clear daily plan you can follow. The language will stay simple and warm so every English learner can follow, and the tone will be energetic and encouraging, like a coach who knows the route because they walked it many times. When I began learning English, I chased grammar books and memorized long vocabulary lists, thinking that knowledge would create fluency. I spent hours solving exercises but froze when someone asked me to speak. The turning point came when I shifted my focus from knowing about the language to listening inside the language. Listening changed everything. It showed me rhythm, natural phrases, the music of sentences, and how words actually behave in real speech. Listening taught me timing, stress, and the tiny connectors native speakers use unconsciously. That shift was the moment my English moved from correct sentences on paper to living conversations. Let's begin with the simplest reason listening matters. The brain learns patterns through exposure. When you listen to English regularly, your brain picks up patterns of sounds, word order, and intonation without forcing yourself to analyze every rule. This is similar to how you learned your first language as a child, not by memorizing grammar, but by hearing the flow of people around you. Listening trains your ear to expect certain sounds and structures, so when you speak, your mouth and brain are already primed to produce natural-sounding English. This is why learners who listen a lot often speak more fluently than those who only study grammar intensely. A real story. I once met a student who had perfect grammar in written tests, but stumbled in conversations. He could write beautiful essays but froze during a 30-second chat. After 3 months of focused listening practice, short daily podcasts, shadowing, and watching dialogues, his spoken confidence rose dramatically. He stopped translating in his head and began responding naturally. The listening practice rewired the way he processed English, and speaking became easier because understanding came first. Now, let's break down how listening helps in specific, practical ways. First, listening builds vocabulary and context. When you hear a word inside a sentence, with emotion and situation, you grasp its real meaning and how people actually use it. Learning "take care" from a phrase in a movie feels different and more usable than memorizing it from a list. Context prevents weird translations and helps you choose words that sound natural. Second, listening teaches pronunciation and rhythm. English is not a language of isolated words. It is music. Linking words, weak forms, and sentence stress change meaning and flow. When you listen, you internalize these sounds. Shadowing, repeating immediately after a speaker, trains your mouth to copy natural rhythm. Over time, your accent softens and your speech becomes smoother because it follows patterns you have heard many times. Third, listening improves comprehension speed. When you listen often, you stop pausing to decode each word. Instead, you pick up chunks of meaning. This chunking is what fluent listeners do. They hear and understand phrases, not single words. Faster comprehension reduces the gap between hearing and answering, which makes conversations feel natural and reduces the anxiety of waiting for your brain to catch up. Fourth, listening trains pragmatic language, the small phrases people use to manage conversations. Right, you know, let me think. These fillers are not meaningless. They buy time, show engagement, and keep the flow. If you skip listening practice, you miss these tiny tools and feel awkward in real exchanges. Listening teaches you how to buy time gracefully and how to sound involved without perfect sentences. So how do you build listening into a daily, realistic habit? The key is short, focused and repeated exposure rather than random binge watching. I will give you a practical routine that fits busy lives. Start with 5 minutes of active listening every morning. Choose a short, clear audio clip, a 60-90 second podcast, a TED-Ed snippet, or a short dialogue from an English learning channel. Listen once for general meaning, then listen again and shadow line by line. Shadowing requires you to repeat just after the speaker, copying rhythm and stress. This 5-minute habit wakes your ear and trains your mouth. Next, add a 10-minute meaning hunt in the afternoon. Pick a short story or news headline, listen without subtitles first, then listen again with English subtitles or transcript. Mark 3 useful phrases and write them in one simple sentence. Use those phrases in your own short spoken sentence. This practice links listening to production, closing the loop between understanding and speaking. In the evening, do a relaxed, enjoyment-based listening session for 20 to 30 minutes. Choose something you love, a sitcom episode, a music playlist with lyrics, or a documentary about your hobby. This session is not strict. It's about building comfort and exposure. Over time, your brain stores hundreds of natural expressions without effort. Let's talk about the most powerful technique I used, shadowing with meaning. Pick a short clip of a clear speaker and listen 3 times. The first time, listen for overall meaning. The second time, listen and read the transcript, matching words to sounds. The third time, shadow the clip. Say every word just after the speaker, copying intonation and rhythm. After 5 minutes of this every day, your pronunciation and fluency improve quickly. The secret is consistency and choosing clips that are short and emotionally engaging. Another practical method is listen and summarize. After listening to a 3 to 5 minute clip, speak a 1-minute summary aloud without notes. This forces you to convert understanding into structured speech. Record yourself and listen back. You will notice gaps and improvements. This loop of listen, speak, and self-review is one of the fastest paths to fluency because it mirrors real conversation. You hear, you process, you respond. Now I want to address a common fear. I can't understand native speakers. They speak too fast. The answer is, start slow and build. Use slowed down audio at first, or choose materials designed for learners at your level. Increase speed gradually. Your brain will adapt if you give it regular exposure. Another tip is to focus on high-frequency language, the most common 1,000 to 2,000 words. When you recognize these often used words, comprehension leaps forward. Combine that with listening, and you will understand real speech faster than you expect. Let's also talk about the role of subtitles. Use them wisely. Start with English subtitles rather than your native language. English subtitles help you connect the sounds to the written form. After several repetitions, try switching subtitles off and listening alone. Subtitles are a scaffold. Use them to learn, then gradually remove the support. Listening partners and language exchanges are another powerful tool. When you practice listening to real people with varied accents and spontaneous speech, you meet the unpredictability of live conversation. Use short exchanges, 5 minutes listening, 5 minutes speaking. Ask your partner to tell a short story and then ask you a question. Listening actively in a live setting trains you to predict and respond, and it reduces the fear of unexpected turns in a conversation. Now, some common mistakes to avoid. First, don't passively watch for hours and expect fluency. Passive exposure is helpful, but active listening, repeating, shadowing, summarizing, creates change. Second, don't focus only on perfect materials or speakers. Real English is messy. Listen to a variety of accents, speeds, and contexts to become flexible. Third, don't rush to speak before you have practiced listening enough. The better you understand, the more natural your response will be. I want to share a simple, realistic 90-day plan that turns listening into fluency if you follow it steadily. Week 1 to 4, build the habit. 5 minutes of morning shadowing, 10 minutes of afternoon meaning hunt, and 20 minutes of relaxed listening in the evening, 5 days a week. Track your streak and celebrate consistency. Week 5-8, increase challenge. Move to slightly longer clips, add 1 weekly listen and summarize session, and start using English subtitles only. Week 9 to 12, produce under pressure. Add a weekly live language exchange, record a 3-minute monologue every week, and seek simple feedback. By the end of 90 days, you will notice a measurable change. Faster comprehension, smoother speech, and fewer pauses. Finally, remember the mindset that supports all of this. Listening is patient work. Fluency is not an event. It is a habit. Treat each listening session as a deposit in your language bank. Small daily deposits compound faster than occasional large ones. Be kind to yourself when progress feels slow. Focus on the small wins. 1 sentence you understood without pausing. 1 time you copied the rhythm naturally. 1 moment you answered without translating. These wins show that listening is reshaping your mind. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a short conversation where you understand more than half the phrases instantly and answer without translating. Hold that image. Every time you listen, you are building toward that moment. Make listening simple, consistent, and joyful. Let the sound of English live in your head first, and your voice will follow. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe this video.